Hello, everybody. This is Mark Kumar, your lifestyle entrepreneur and a proud founder of Simple Podcast Cloud, a platform for podcaster by podcaster. We allow you to host your podcast with us, and then the difference between us and others are with us, you have one account and everything unlimited. And you might be wondering, what in the world is everything unlimited means? It means unlimited shows, unlimited storage, unlimited bandwidth, the whole nine yards. And today, I want to introduce another amazing podcaster who's going to be sharing with you some really cool tips and tricks, which is going to help you take your podcasting career, life, passion, whatever you want to call it, to the next level. So, without any further ado, Rob, take your time to introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Robin Neumark Jones. I'm an actor, a comedian, a writer, and a podcaster. And when I'm not doing that, I also teach students from around the world. I have been podcasting now for about 9 months. I've started my own one basically when lockdown started. I was a performing actor. I was on the West End in a show which I was starring in. And after 10 days, we were shut down. COVID came with vengeance and completely shut down the whole of the West End. And with no relief in sight, I was like, what am I going to do? Right. I love podcasts. So I was like, I'm going to start my own. So I started my own. It's called The Bliss of the Abyss because we were in the abyss. And I thought, well, I want to bring some bliss to that. Okay. And that's sort of been the goal ever since. And it's been, growing since then. We're on our 25th episode, just about to drop on Monday.
Oh, all right, man. First thing I want to ask you, your accent. It is so amazing. Where are you from?
So I'm originally from London.
Okay.
I've spent quite a lot of time in New York and in Sheffield, which is in the UK. It's in Yorkshire where they talk like this. All right, do you want a cup of tea, Doc? Okay. But mainly I'd probably say my accent is probably quite London, and I am a trained actor, so it's probably got a few knobby little bits in there as well.
Man, just for my own personality curiosity, being an actor, does it get hard sometimes to differentiate what your real life is and what roles you play?
Yeah, especially when you're young, it becomes really confusing, and you probably make some mistakes and you like cross some boundaries. That's like when you're young, you make all kinds of mistakes, don't you? I'm sure you know. When you're a young actor, you get, too invested in something and you kind of, it's like anyone. It's like when you leave work, you should leave work at work.
Correct.
Right? But sometimes you take it home with you and you're like, I'm just so into this character as if it matters.
Right.
But as you get older, you get a bit better at separating the work from your personal life, for sure.
Okay. Oh, that was just one more curiosity because I always wonder. I never had the opportunity to actually ask that actor, and they're like, "Do you blur the line where your persona of a film or acting career ends and your real life picks up?" And some people, like what I have heard of it, I don't know if it's true or not. Obviously, some people like my real life is really boring. When I go acting, this is where I shine.
Well, I mean, I think there is an element of truth in that. I mean, it's probably a blessing if your real life is boring, at least a little bit, because like I teach story writing sometimes to people, and you can tell them, here's the worst story ever written. A man woke up, he went down, he had some coffee, he went to work, he had lunch, he finished his job, he went to bed, he kissed his wife, he went to bed. Like that's not a story. But it's everyone's life, and people are happy with that. It's fine. Right. But like the real stories that we want, something crazy happens. And so when you're an actor, you want those crazy things to happen. But if you're working constantly and in your job, those crazy things are happening, in your real life, you start to just crave the normality that we all do.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. And speaking of crazy things, when you started podcasting, can you think or well, I guess better would be can you think of anything that went crazy? Like, oh my God, I can't believe I have to do this. Crap.
Well, you know what's funny? So you can see I've got this green screen installed behind me, right?
Right.
So when lockdown hit, I was like, okay, I'm going to start a podcast. I'm gonna do video and stuff like that. And but I also needed to find a way to make money like that.
Right.
And obviously, initially, as I'm sure you know, you can't monetize a podcast straight out the gate. Like now, I'm starting to get some money out of it, and we can talk about that, obviously.
Okay.
But I was like, what am I going to do? I'll need a green screen. I'll need to film stuff from home. And there's this company. I won't mention the name of the company, but they do tutoring online for Chinese students, and they have very, very strict rules about how you can work for them, as you can imagine. So it was a complete, as we say in the UK, faff, which just means so many things. So I'm drilling into my wall. I'm learning how to install, like I've got my iron out and I'm ironing the things on the back of the green screen. I'm downloading all this software. I'm taking all these tutorials. I get it all set up and I get through all of the things and I'm like employed.
Okay.
Only to find that there's absolutely no work on there at all. Because all around the world, everybody is doing the same thing. So I've just got this ridiculous setup here, and I've used it once, and the student didn't even show up.
Holy crap! Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, I've made my own like fun videos and stuff with it, and some content stuff.
Right. All right. So speaking of content, what is your podcast is about? Let's start with there. Like, what do you cover in your podcast?
So I try to cover a range of things. So I'm in the entertainment world, so I'll have guests on there from time to time. Stand-up comedians, actors, interesting people. Occasionally I'll have my wife on there. She's very entertaining. She has her own segment.
Okay.
So that, you know, some of my like friends and family who like to listen to those they like those episodes a lot, obviously, and then she's become a bit of a fan favorite as well. And then I'll have these solo episodes where I'm just, to be honest, Mark, I'm a little bit mad. So I'll go down a rabbit hole, and it will become quite bizarre. Like this last one. What did I start talking about? I started talking about two episodes ago. I started talking about bonsai, and there's a whole scandal about bonsai. You know, bonsai trees, the little trees that you. So it's like a Japanese tradition of they grow trees, but they grow them in very small pots. So imagine like a full-grown birch or an oak tree or something like that,
right?
But shrunk into miniature.
Okay, right. Okay.
So quite cool, right? So I ordered some seeds off the internet, and I was like looking up how to like work it, and then I realized there's this whole debate online about like, is bonsai cruel? You know, should you even be doing it? All this kind of stuff. So you know, I just find myself down the weird corners of the internet, and we have fun, and occasionally I talk to Vladimir Putin as well.
Okay, cool.
And we won't.
No. It's because I love podcasting, because you get to meet so many unique and interesting people that I never even thought I would be like, oh my God, I get to meet you and other people who have interviewed in the past. It's like, wow, I'm based out of New York, and I get to meet somebody who's like where you are, a completely different country, let alone another state. So I find that a very rewarding experience.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Has it been a rewarding experience for you where you interview other people for a different part of the country, or has it been locally, or how do you go about getting people?
So because I did stand-up comedy in the before times. And hopefully we'll get back to doing some of that. I've got contacts in the comedy industry. So I can get guests through that fairly easily. And then because I've been a professional actor for about a decade now as well, you know, made contacts through that and through new jobs and stuff. So it's kind of easy to always get entertainment people on my show. But I also try and like branch out. So my wife's actually from New York as well.
Oh, really? Awesome.
Yeah. So we're going to look to try and get her dad on there, who's like, he's got mob stories. He's not in the mob.
Right. He knows all the story.
Yeah, let's just say he's been around it a bit. And also, he sounds like he's from The Sopranos. So he's like, "Yo, what's up? It's Johnny B. Welcome. How you doing?" And it's like that's gold. For, like you were saying about my accent. So
Right.
that's the same way we feel over here about the New York accent. It's
Right,
exactly. It's like it's just brilliant for us, so we can't get enough of it.
Right.
So I think I'm definitely trying to branch out though. Like I think the system you've got in place for getting guests on yours is fantastic. Like it's very innovative. It's a genius way of doing it.
Right. Thank you so much for that.
Did you come up with that?
Yes. Well, part of sort of like, I'm a creative on that side, but we can get on that later on. But right now, you are the hero of this show. Let's talk about you. This is like your, the shine, the spotlight is on you. It's all about you. So when was let's take it back, journey back to your first episode when you actually recorded your first show.
Yeah.
And the preparation for that particular show. What was the initial idea when you thought like, okay, I'm gonna get a podcaster, I'm gonna create a podcast, and then what happened after that? Like what mindset, what things you did to get to your first show recording it? Like in terms of equipment, mindset, software, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, so I had in terms of equipment, not that this is sponsored by anybody, but I had one of these, which is a Zoom.
A Zoom mic? Okay.
Yeah, from I've been doing some things with some comedian friends. And so I've been learning, kind of taking this with me and learning how it worked a bit.
Gotcha.
So my first few episodes, I just had this. And it's good, like it's great on the go and stuff, and it's got some cool little inputs. I would definitely recommend it to anyone. But it's very much, an on the go recorder as opposed to a home studio setup.
Right.
And I just knew that I'd used it before, and I'd listened to some recordings, and it was fine. And I was kind of a bit like, I just want to put something out there, see if people are interested. If they're not, okay, I don't actually really care because I'm kind of just doing it for me. I'm going a bit mad. It was when lockdown in the UK, when lockdown first happened, you were only allowed to leave your house once a day. And it was for exercise and you were allowed to go to the shops. But like, it was, it was crazy. And I know from friends in New York and stuff, and you can probably speak to this of like, toilet paper was sold out. You couldn't get pasta anywhere. It's like the world was melting down around your eyes.
Yes, the toilet paper, the paper towel, the Lysol wipe, you name it, the water, all gone.
And how was that the first thing to go, by the way? Toilet paper. It's just absolute madness.
That just goes to show you how much we use it.
I know. I was like, have I been using it wrong all these years? Because I swear I've got an okay stash. But that first one, I didn't even call it an episode.
Right.
I didn't have any segments. It was just me kind of talking. I prepared a few notes ahead of time.
Right.
I knew roughly what I wanted to discuss, and I just kind of went for it. It was much shorter than any other episode I've done. So it was kind of, I guess what I'd say to people out there thinking of starting their own is like, it's okay if it changes and grows and becomes something different from how you started. I think where I'm at now, it still has a germ of where I started from. But it's quite a different show.
Okay. So let's say you recorded your show, which is a journey on its own. Anyone who starts their podcast may not know it, or people who have done it, like let's say 20, 50, 100 episode in there. When they think about the first episode, like, oh my God, everybody cringes like, don't listen to that one. Not that one. But to get to that first episode, the initial journey itself is like huge, which is a good thing. But let's say whatever you did to record your first episode, and then after you recorded it, tell me your experience and your feeling when you listened to it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm a narcissist, so it was just sweet honey that I was pouring down my... No, I'm only joking.
Okay.
No, I'm only joking, obviously. I listened to it and I was like, I guess I thought, I was like, oh, I guess I need to decide what this show is. I was working very much on momentum. I was like, okay, I was a West End actor. Now I'm stuck at home trying to find a way to make money. I'm going mad. I need to put something, my creative instincts into something. And I just
Right.
kind of put it out there. And I was like, right, now actually, what is this going to be? And I think, like, looking back, I'm not sure if I'd change anything because I haven't listened to it. I guess listening to it now would be really interesting because I'm about 6 months in.
Right.
And I probably, even within 6 months, I probably don't even recognize myself. I'm probably like, who is this idiot talking nonsense? But I just sort of thought it was a way to share some, trying to be funny and
Right.
entertaining amidst like a global pandemic, trying to
Right.
provide some relief and just share some stories, trying to, because I love podcasts, right? It's probably my favorite entertainment medium. I don't know. It seems like it's the last truly free mode of expression left, I think.
It's probably the most powerful thing out there right now, I feel, because you could
Mm,
literally change people's life by your voice. At least
mm,
that's how I look at it. Because
mm,
before I got into podcasting, I listened to so many different podcasts, ranging
mm,
from Facebook marketing, self help, your website development, you name it, anything out there, I'll listen to it. And then I did that for 3 years, three consecutive
mm.
years. I was like, wow, to the point where I felt like I am so full of knowledge. I need to empty this thing out. So
Yeah,
it's like this, that was my thing. And because I was like, wow, all these people that I listened to, they changed my life.
right.
They literally helped me become a better person a lot
Yeah,
faster than if I were to go to university or try to watch a YouTube video or whatever.
yeah.
Because what I was doing at one point in my life, I literally got addicted to podcasting.
I've
Because
been there.
I was like, because I go on a long walk, I'm talking like 8 to 12 mile, like just go for a walk 2 3 hours, or
Nice.
I would literally just look for a podcast that was a minimum of 1 hour long, so I
Yeah,
can get like two of them in and I'm good. So I would look for it, and it was like a productive. So I get to exercise at the same time. I feed
yeah,
my brain with good productive
yeah.
ideas or thoughts, and that I didn't know before. So I was like, hell yeah, I get it, food for my mind and food for, I mean, exercises at the same time. It's a win-win.
Absolutely. Yeah, it absolutely is.
That's why I was like, I love podcasts. It was totally 100% with you. It's like the most, I feel like it's the most beautiful thing this industry had, because you get to change a person's life,
Mm.
not even realize you did, which is like, wow.
And
It's like,
it's there's no limit to,
yeah,
I mean, I'm not sure your business background, but I've worked in like different fields. I'd be interested to hear your experience on this. But
sure.
when you enter a new field, when you're fresh in, you don't know what's going on.
Yep.
After a while, you start to like sort of sense it around, and you're like, okay, these are the gatekeepers. Here's the bars to entry. This person's got a lot of power. All of that kind of stuff. And those things exist everywhere. So they exist in podcasting, but also you can just completely bypass them and do your own thing.
Yep.
And it will grow as big as it can grow as well, regardless. And you can decide to, like Joe Rogan, right? 100 million on Spotify. You can decide if you want to go down that route, and I'm sure that's going to have some consequences for him. It just will. You're signing with a huge corporation, but he
Right.
became as big as he became without any of that. So you can also go down that route, and that freedom that doesn't exist in many spheres.
No, at all. Because, like, just to give you a little bit of background now, because I want you to be the hero of the show, because you are the hero of the show. And just to give you a little bit of background about me, look, I have
Yeah.
been into 4 different industries:
Okay.
photography, the web development, the fitness industry, and the podcast industry now, to the
Right.
point where every single one of the industry actually been a, I went in there as like a hobby. For example, my first photography industry, I went in there because I had a camera. I started playing around with it, and then one thing led to another. People find out like, hey, Mark is a professional photographer. I'm like, not
Mm,
me. I just have a camera and I love it. And the people literally saw my enthusiasm, the excitement, and that's all I had. I didn't know how to pose anybody, lighting, anything like that.
right.
But most people, when they see what you are putting out there, the amount of enthusiasm, the amount of love, it shows on your face. If it shows on your face, people see the passion through it. And then that's what I did. And then one thing led to another. I became a professional photographer. I did the wedding, the portraits, and the whole 9 yards, then into web development. But one thing I noticed, like no matter which industry you pick, does not matter. Across the board, across the world, doesn't matter. As long as you have this one thing in mind, and that is your mindset. If you are kind of person who's like, if I fail once, I'm horrible at it, I will never try again.
Right.
If you can overcome that and know this, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, it doesn't matter which industry, because I can speak for, I went to 4 different industries.
Yeah.
Whatever you try for the very first time, you're going to fail if you never tried it before. The finest example I could think of right now is like, and then as that happens to every single human being, doesn't matter your race, doesn't matter your sex, doesn't matter where you grew up, does not matter across the whole world. When you started to walk, I promise you, no one took the first step and just started walking. I guarantee you that never happened. You fell the first time, you fell the 100th time. After the 100th time, you got up, then you wouldn't start walking. And that's the same principle if you apply it in the business world, because you're gonna fail, you're gonna fail, you're gonna fail. Then all of a sudden you're gonna go up like Joe Rogan, and they'll be like, "Oh my God, this guy's amazing!" Like, no, he's not. You don't know what he did before, and then now you're like, okay, right?
Right. It's just, but equally, like you're saying, that's a really good lesson. And another lesson I've learned from this game is, which is part of his success, not to make it about him, but is that consistency. It's like you keep showing up, you keep doing it, and then you'll get better. Like everything. Like when you were talking there about like falling down, I remember I was into skateboarding when I was a kid, and I was never very good. Right. But I used to do it quite often. And eventually I got to the point where I could get on a skateboard and jump down some steps and keep on the skateboard.
Like, let me just ask you, the first time you did that, didn't you go, yes?
Oh my God. It's still one of my favorite moments. And in order to get to there, I had to sustain so many grazed knees and twisted ankles and falling on my face and making a complete arse of myself. But it was all worth it because now, what do I remember? I don't remember all the times that I fell down and twisted my knee and all of that. I remember that jump. I remember that moment. And the only reason I got there, it wasn't because of some God-given talent. It wasn't anything other than I kept doing it and I just liked doing it and I persisted.
That right there is the key, and the best way I could put it is that in order for you to be a repetition is equal success. You keep doing it, keep doing it. And what you say, persistency. You got to keep doing it until you get to the point where like it becomes second nature. You don't even think about it. Like, for example, if I ask you, hey, do you think about your podcasting in terms of what you're going to say? No, it flows, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. The more I go on with it, like I had a guest on a couple of weeks ago who's he's an actor. He's going to be in Kingsman 3, right?
Oh, nice.
Big Hollywood movie. So it's quite exciting, talking to him about various Hollywood actors and stuff. And I'm a bit of a nerd. Like I've got some stuff prepared, stuff that I want to get to. And I think over the course of the interview, I looked at it once. And at the end, I was like, I guess we never got to any of this. But this is one of the best episodes that I've had. So it must be doing something right.
Right, exactly. And it's like one of the things, it's like, I don't know if you follow this format ever. Before I did it, when I first started, I had this like 15 question bullet line, boom, 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 boom. And at the end of it, it was done. And I did that for like three or four episodes. And the fifth episode, like, I'm getting bored with asking silly questions. It's like, I don't want to ask anymore because like I'm like, okay, whatever. And then I got to this new format where it's like, let's just have a conversation. The content that got out of it, it was like so beautiful and it's amazing because you never know where the conversations go. It's like, you going out with your friends on Friday night, having a beer or a drink or whatever. You don't know what the hell you're going to talk about. You just know you're going to have a good time.
Right. You don't appear with a list of questions.
Right. It's just like you show up and then we're good. Let's talk about whatever,
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, to people listening out there who maybe have like a different idea for their podcast, because some of the podcasts I listen to that I love are very prepared. Like John Ronson did a series recently on Audible, like last year or the year or two ago. It's like documentary journalism. It's very well investigated. He's going a deep dive. He's got interviews. It's a structured thing. And that's also a podcast. And that's fantastic. And some of the best podcasts ever have been that. You think of big hitters like Serial or, S-Town or something like that, like things that blow up the podcast game. And those are very different. But that's why it's such a great field. It's like, those are also podcasts. Those are brilliant. And then you also have these 3-hour conversation podcasts. Those are also things. And then you have these 20-minute motivational ones. You have 10-minute starter ones, everything. It's all, as long as it's good content, that's all that matters. It just...
That's truly is the key. And speaking of the content, how do you prepare yourself for the interviews to make sure you have a good content for two people? One is you, obviously, because you want to get something out of it. Number two will be your listeners. So how do you prepare for that? Or how do you make sure you hit the points that will benefit you first? Second is your listeners.
Yeah, so I think I go by the mantra of prepare for the worst, hope for the best.
Okay.
So, I'll always have my backup plan. I always have a list of topics I want to talk about that have come up that I've jotted down during the week. And I've got a notes app on my phone, and I've got a separate note for each new episode. It'll have links, it'll have topics, it'll have anything I have to mention, housekeeping, anything like that. So that's always there regardless. Okay. And I'll know like one or two of them will really have been playing on my mind. So I'm like, I'm definitely going to talk about that somehow. And then the others are kind of there, like if something hits the ground or hits the rocks, or if a topic comes up that I'm like, hold on, this is something I want to talk about, then I'll always have places to go to.
Right.
But I think the essence, like you said about meeting your friends down the pub, is something might have happened to you in your life that you want to talk to your friends about. And so you'll come in knowing you want to bring that up. You'll be like, oh my God, can you believe my friend the other day? Right. But also you've got to be free and easy to go with whatever they bring. Cool. And you'll never know what that's going to be. So you can make as many notes as you want, but they might come up with this crazy or very interesting or just wild thing. And you're like, that's where you have to be willing to be like, forget the notes. I want to know about that. Tell me all about that, and go down that rabbit hole with them.
Right. So have you had I'm sure you may have like more than one occasion where you like, it literally sticks out in your mind when you want to interview something and you're like, oh my God, this is so cool. I have to know about that. Can you explain or can you go into like what that was about, if you remember?
Yeah, sure. So I had he's a comedian on my show. I had him on, I want to say like 5 weeks ago, something like that. And we're just talking. He's a very funny guy, and we're just talking about what comedy is like in the lockdown era, what the Zoom gigs are like, what the drive-in gigs are like. Weird stuff. It's a weird time for them. And we got into this story about basically this act that had come along and tried to steal his thing. So his whole thing is he's a character comedian. So he plays a like dictator.
Okay.
Of the Laughter Republic, right? So he's a Nigerian dude, and he plays this like fake dictator of this republic. Okay. And then there's this whole story that unraveled of like the BBC had basically commissioned this comedy with this other person, where the premise was he's a dictator of an African republic, and his name was like Colonel Banjoko as opposed to President Obonjo. It's like very similar, very dodgy. And we got into sort of like, how did you deal with that? Like what? And some of the stuff he couldn't even talk about, right? Because it was like, in that gray area of like, I don't know what I can say, can't say kind of thing. But I was like, this is fascinating. Like, how are you dealing with that? Have you ever spoken with the guy about it? Did you have a meeting with the BBC? He had a meeting with the BBC. he had a meeting with all these people. He emails back and forth. There was a press thing about it. The whole thing. I was like, wow, crazy.
Right? And then, isn't it the coolest part about it is like if that person shared that story with you, all of a sudden, it happens to me all the time. All of a sudden, your wheels start turning. You have this question that you didn't even think about it before. Then, like, oh, I want to know about that. Like,
Yeah,
isn't
absolutely.
That, doesn't that happen? Like, it's like so cool.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go on to like, so we know what you do for create your content and things like that. So what happens after you record your interview? Then what's the next phase for you, like post-production wise?
Okay, yeah. So it's it's not always an interview. My show, I do solo episodes and interview
Oh,
episodes.
okay. So let's get on to the solo episodes. How do you
Yeah.
create content for those solo episodes?
So yeah, I mean, I can tell you what I just spoke about on my recent one.
Okay.
It's just things but so I do comedy. So part of it was I read this article that elephants in a zoo have been feeling quite anxious. I think it was in Munich, but I might be wrong. Because they're a matriarchal society and the lead elephant died. And so the zoo has started giving them cannabis, CBD, to try and cure their anxiety.
Okay.
Good reaction. So I was like, well, that's crazy. So, what's that? So I'm starting exploring that. That took me then to squirrels. And I was like, have you heard this thing of squirrels? They bury their nuts, right?
Yes.
For the winter. Now, the whole time I was a kid, everyone was always saying, squirrels, they bury their nuts, and then in winter, they dig them up, and they stay alive through winter because of that. And then at some point, I don't know when it was, maybe when I was like 15, people were like, squirrels don't know shit, right? It's just like, they're just guessing. They don't know where the nuts are. They're just digging in random spots. And I was like, hold on, wait, what's the truth here? So then elephants took me to squirrels, which then took me to kangaroos that look like dogs. And then I went into this whole random thing about, selling like hotcakes. I had misheard it as selling like oat cakes. And then I've been on the Isle of Wight, which is in the UK, which they have goat pastry. So then it was like selling like goat cakes. And then suddenly I'm doing this thing where I'm talking to this other character, but they're both me. And one of them's trying to sell a goat cake to the other person who's like, who the hell is, what's a goat cake? Right? It sounds insane. And it is.
but that's the beautiful part about the thing is like it works for you because you're an actor. You can literally act out both of them. And for us regular people, we can't do that.
Yeah, so, no, I don't know if it works or not. I mean, I'll let the people be the judge of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you do any post-production or you just record it and let it rip and that's that, whatever? Or how does that work for you?
No. So, I mean, I've got a bit more sophisticated with it, but I'm a bit of an audiophile. So, okay. But I'm not an expert, but I get obsessed with it. So I'll import the file. I use Audacity because I don't have any money. Also, it's good though because I did have Adobe products before, and I'm not sure they're worth the premium. But whatever. Okay. I like Audacity, so I'll put it in there. I've now tweaked a macro which will run like a number of things on it, and then I'll go through. If I'm really obsessive, I'll take out too many ums. I'll take out. There's a thing I'll do where I go, and for some reason it annoys me. So I'll go through and I can see the spike in the audio. You get the same, and I'll be like, I'll just
guilty as charged,
And in my head, I'm like, why do you keep doing that with your lips, Robert? That's completely unnecessary. But
isn't it like a rewarding? All of a sudden, you're like, what is that sound? Oh, that crap is me. I do that.
Yeah, so I'll always try and tidy up the audio, make it nicer, make sure there's no clipping. And then, I'll put in the interstitials and intro and outro. Sometimes in my show, I'll have like bits where, like I said, Putin before. Obviously, I haven't had Vladimir Putin on my podcast yet. But I had a bit where I found this text to speech thing on the internet. but it for some reason it had a Russian accent. And I was just looking up how to pronounce a word, but it came out Russian. And I was like, that's funny. And just in the moment, I just started having a conversation with the computer, but like typing out the response. And obviously in the editing later, I have to like delete all the tick, 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 tick,
Right.
all of that noise. But suddenly I'm like having this, and then in the speech after, I'm like trying to make that sound even more Russian. And do you know what I mean? I get like obsessed with it. I'll like download a filter and be like, what does this do? And a lot of the time I won't end up using it, but there's so many things to do with audio. It's such a rich, like now I've got this, if you can see it, I've got
The Moon mic.
yeah, and it's I've got it facing down because I read this article, which can be complete nonsense, but apparently it works better if you face it down.
Yeah, because when you talk, the voice goes up; it doesn't go down.
Yeah, and apparently if it gets hot, if you had like a long conversation, if it's the other way around, then the heat travels up through the microphone, which can distort the cardioid. Whereas if it's upside down, the heat can escape out the top.
Did not know that. Interesting. You learn something new every day. I did not know that. Thank you for sharing. I did not know that. Okay. It's like, it's like when wintertime, if you want your heat to work, get the proper heating, you put it on the floor rather than on the top because the heat rises. I guess the same concept with the voice, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I never know. So
I saw a picture. I was like looking online and I saw a picture. I think it was Amy Winehouse, like in the studio with like, a beautiful condenser mic hanging down.
Right.
And I was like, I've definitely seen that before. And I was like, what's the logic there? So just, Bing, searched it on Bing.
Okay.
And see what I could see. And then there were all these articles being like, yeah, that's the way to do it.
All right. See, the wonderful internet. It teaches you things you didn't even know about. It's like, holy crap, Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you recorded your podcast, and is there a system that you like? Okay, now we recorded it. A platform that you go upload it. Obviously, you have a platform that people can listen to it, and then after you upload it to whatever platform that you choose, what's the next step when you go to promote it? Like social media, you use social media. Which one works better for you so far? Has been working better for you, I guess.
That's a good question. Yeah. So I think I distribute currently on 9 different platforms, and social media. I use Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Is that it? Everyone says you should get on TikTok, and I'm not on that.
I flicker around with it. I'm like, it's like, not the greatest thing, or whatever.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of reluctantly using all of the social media that I can, but I'm not like it's not like a natural thing for me. Like in an ideal world, someone would take care of all of that for me. But like that shouldn't make it sound like I'm lazy. It's just like it's just not something that I'm very good at. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm good at acting, for God's sake. I can do that. That doesn't make me a wizard at Instagram.
Right.
But I think Instagram is probably where I get the most traction. And I would be interested to hear from you. Is Instagram, because you're a professional photographer, so
yes, Instagram for me personally works a lot better. That will be number 2. Number 1 would be like YouTube, and then Instagram. The others I just ignore. I don't even worry about it because, like you said, we don't have that much time. There's only 24 hours in a day, and we want to make sure we use the most valuable currency, which is time, because obviously once you use the time, you're never going to get it back. Like today, it's gone. It's never going to come back. Tomorrow will be another day. So I only limit to only 2 platforms, which is one YouTube, and Instagram is definitely one of them. And the way that I go about doing it, I use the Instagram target, which is called hashtag marketing. I use specific hashtags to go and upload things that are time specific, depending on where my audiences are. So let's say if the people in UK, I don't want to upload 6 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning. No one's going to be up.
Right.
looking at it like whatever, and then and then
That's
whereas
clever.
if I want to make sure that whoever I'm targeting, make sure I do that too, and then certain hashtags that I use and they get popular, and then also I try to do it like twice a day,
Yeah.
but the beautiful part about the Instagram marketing is that now I don't know if you know that or not, you can connect your Instagram account to Facebook business account
Yeah.
where you can literally schedule out your post that's going to go into your Instagram so you don't have to physically do it. So one weekend you can schedule out the whole month of your, I don't know, let's just say whatever, a month for a whole month. If you're doing 2 posts a day, you schedule
Mm.
out on Monday, go here, Monday to this time, this time, this time, and
Mm.
it's absolutely free. Like,
Mm. Right. How
so
long is that going to stay free? That sounds really good.
well, it's part of the Facebook group. I mean, Facebook platform. So you don't
Yeah.
pay for it. So the Facebook, I guess, finally figured out because
Oh,
a
of course.
third-party company are doing
Mm.
that, and then they were having API issues and things like that. So then Facebook like, screw it. We give our users the ability to do it on our own because now we own Instagram and Facebook and combined together.
Mm.
So it's a lot more easier and simpler integration compared to when they were two different companies.
I heard this thing from my friend who works in marketing, and he said the only platform to use hashtags on is Instagram.
Yep. And they
Is that true?
only, that is true. YouTube as well, but YouTube only gives you like a 3 hashtag in your video as a
Yeah.
set. But Instagram, they give you up to 28 hashtag, which is a lot of hashtags. So if
Yeah.
you get like 1 or 2 hashtag that literally picks it up, you can get like 2 or 3 followers a day. So at the end of
Yeah.
the month, you could potentially have 100 more followers that people didn't know
Right.
about you just by using
Yeah.
hashtag.
Because obviously hashtags became famous on Twitter, but apparently now it's all
Instagram.
been like Twitter. Apparently, even if you use a hashtag, you get less interaction because the way the algorithm works is it searches your tweet for anything that would be a hashtag anyway, so it pops up anyway. So he was saying like tweets with hashtags get like 30% less interaction. I was like, what? Like the game changes out there pretty quick. And then back to your question, the first thing I do is post on Patreon, right? Because I've got my own sort of those people I need to take care of first, right? They're the patrons, they're the supporters who are actually using their dollars to vote, shall we say? So
Okay, so that I guess that's next question I was going to be what things you do to monetize again. So Patreon is the way you go monetizing it. So that way you get money into whatever you get, whatever.
yeah.
Okay.
So they get early access to episodes. They get
Okay.
special behind the scenes content. They get access to me in a way that they can send stuff anytime they want. We do Q&As. We can do, just everything basically, just all kinds of extra stuff. And it's just making sure they're taken care of because they're actually, supporting with a regular monthly amount, however much they want. And then I'll always keep it for free on all of the sites as well. Like that's what I love about podcasts. Like I know when Luminary came around and they were like, we're taking all our things behind a paywall. I was like, I don't like that. That to me, that is like, I get it for TV and stuff like that. That
Right.
makes much more sense to me. But some of these podcasts that they were taking behind the paywall it's just like, it's not like the in-depth journalism that we're talking about. It's just some guy picking up a microphone, and I'm like, well, you're going to pay him $10 million and then make us pay £4 a month for what? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But
Right.
but equally, I'm a content producer and I'm trying to put stuff out there. And like you said, how many hours in a day do you get? It costs, like, time is money. That's the old, but it's true. So it costs me to produce this show.
Yep.
It costs me time. And also, if I want to make it sound good, I've got to have good equipment. So I had to buy, I've got like a proper microphone now and like a boom arm. And like, as you can see, right, it's like, so those costs are then offset by the fact that I've got patrons who are supporting the show as well.
Trust
And
me,
then,
I am all for making money because the way I look at it, and I have done this in the past, so I'm speaking from experience, where if you treat your, let's just call it a side hustle, I guess if you want to call it as a hobby, you are literally setting yourself up for bankruptcy, like literally, which is crazy. And a funny story I want to share is like, because when I was doing
Yeah.
the photography thing, is
Yeah.
that at one point in my photography career, I had a workshop where I would other photographers, they would come in, and then I would teach them how to pose, the lighting and the camera techniques and all that stuff. And this one gentleman literally came up into the workshop with a brand new $10,000 camera. I was like, oh, like I couldn't wrap my head around it. I'm like, wow. So I'm thinking, okay, he came up with a $10,000 camera, whatever. Maybe he knows what he's doing, and he has a good business set up. So his business is paying for his gear and everything else. But during the workshop, I found out he literally took his credit card and charged it up. Like, holy crap.
Oh my God.
That's what I'm talking about. I was like, oh my God, you gotta be kidding me. He's like, I literally just got it yesterday. So I wanna come to your workshop so I can use and get really good quality pictures for my portfolio. I'm like, wait, hang on a
Bro,
second. I was
the
like,
camera doesn't take the photos, you do.
exactly. So I was like, hang on a second. You bought this $10,000 camera. You wanna use it to build your portfolio. Okay, I'll play for right now. How many people have you charged to get the business you have? It's like, oh, I've been doing it. I'm a professional amateur, which means I haven't charged anybody, and I've been doing it for the last 10 years. I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, what?
A
Yeah,
professional amateur. He created a new category for himself.
literally, I was like, "Oh my God, dude!" That's
Yeah.
what I mean. So that's a fine example. If you treat your side hustle, because before it becomes a business, it's a side hustle. If you
Yeah.
treat your side hustle as a hobby, you're literally gonna bankrupt yourself.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so
Yeah.
I'm totally with you. Like if like the way I look at it, even my side hustle, even if it's gonna take me time to
Yeah.
invest in it, but end goal is I want to make money somehow, some shape or form. So I'm totally with you, man. You should definitely have that end goal in mind. Not be just like I'm just gonna do it free and see what happens. Like, okay. Then
Yeah.
you're gonna be that guy who spent $10,000 on camera. He doesn't have the confidence or the ability to get a client.
That's just insane, isn't it? And some people have that idea. You know, I do a bit of voiceover and stuff, and you see it in the forums. People put things on there like looking to get involved in the game. What equipment should I buy? And all of the seasoned pros, and these are the people who have the best equipment in the game. They're all like, please don't spend a lot of money,
Yep.
like because you don't know yet. Okay, and you can get a really good equipment for not a lot. Start there, okay, because you're the one making it, not the microphone. So
Yep.
it can sound as great as you want, but if you're talking absolute bollocks, it doesn't matter. No one is going to care. Like it's
Yep.
okay, it's a great audio quality, but like who gives a
Exactly, and then I can validate that what I call those people is like gearheads. Basically, no matter
right?
what industry you are, like photography industry, camera, in your web development industry, it's your damn computer, it's the software, and then the fitness industry, it's the ladies are like really, really go out all out it. Like sometimes ladies will be like, before I go work out, I need to get a proper top and a bottom. I need to have matching gloves and shoes and hairband. I'm like, are you going there for a fashion show? Are you going there for a workout? But that's another thing. And in our podcast industry, it's like the mic, the mic, the mic. The mic doesn't do anything. You can literally nowadays use a cell phone and record
Yeah.
the content until you get a good following. Then you be like, okay, these people are following. Now I need to upgrade it. Kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
So every single industry, no matter which industry you go to, there's always going to be people who are going to be gearhead, and
Yeah.
then the best thing you could do is stay far away from them as possible because you are going to get a lot further, a lot faster.
No, it's true. I remember a podcast that I used to be really into is there's a comedian called Burr, and he had this podcast. I think he still does, called the Monday Morning Podcast, and it started so long ago. this is how old it is. He used to phone in to a recording service that would like record the podcast and like host it and post it online. Like, and that was it. So he'd be using his mobile. So like the quality of the audio was terrible, of course, but like it had a charm to it because you were like, well, this is nuts. And he's just rambling for 15 minutes while he's in the airport. And obviously, like over time, it's grown to become like now he has a thing at home and he's got proper setup and all that stuff. But it's like, it's almost like anything. It's like you have to build it. You have to build it. If you start at the beginning with this big palace of gear and you're like, I've got this sick mixer, I've got the top of the end laptop, and it's like, yeah, but at the end of the day, that doesn't matter.
What matter? I think you would agree is like the content, which is the meats and potato and the real thing. People listen to it. That's all that matter. As long as you have a decent audio, people don't care. Like, I'll listen to it. Like, basically, what it boils down to is like, let's just use YouTube as an example, right?
Right.
You and I both probably got on YouTube and watched some dude help us solve a problem, and the video quality was horrible. And sometimes there was no audio whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then there was like music playing. Like, for example, I was like watching the video yesterday where this dude had a music and he was showing me how to build a dumbbell out of concrete. I'm like, this is cool. And I wanted to learn.
That's cool.
Yeah, like because all the gyms are closed nowadays, whatever.
Right.
And then my gym is just literally went bankrupt, so they're not even going to be opened.
Same.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, it's happening all around the world, huh?
It's all around the world. So I watched that. I'm like, that's kind of cool. So basically, it's like a two PVC pipes and a two boxes of like cookies, whatever. And you put a cement in it. You connect the two, and there's your dumbbell. I was like, wow.
Cool.
Under $10, and he didn't spoke a single word. So he probably used his cell phone to record it and upload it, and that's it, whatever.
So exactly. Like, what are the most popular videos on YouTube? Are they the ones that are filmed in crisp 4K with the best mics? No, it's just for whatever reason something goes viral, and it's. Do you know what I mean? It's so many X factors that you can't even. Like, it's I've heard meetings with friends and with people in the industry where they're like, we want this to go viral, and you're like, yeah, everyone wants it. I mean. The problem is you can't plan for like. Of course you do. Who doesn't want it to go? But you can't just.
And the thing is, like, some people think like, hey, I'm just gonna create a new, let's just say, a video or podcast, doesn't matter, and then no one has ever heard from me, and as soon as I put out the very first thing, it's going to go viral. Yeah. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. It takes time to build your brand, personal brand and things of that nature. And then obviously the more and more you do it, the better it has the potential to go viral or have more listen or have more views. Yeah. But if you stop, you're out of the game, literally.
There we go. You're gone. Yeah.
So question I want to ask you is like, so what motivates you to continue podcasting?
Yeah, that's a good question. Why the hell am I doing it? I have fun doing it. So that's the key. I try to keep that, even if I'm just doing like a boring job and I'm just doing it for money, I still have to try and find a way to have fun, right? Because otherwise, how many, like you said, how many hours are there in the day? What am I going to do? Spend them being miserable? It's like, find the fun. But luckily with podcasts, it's something I enjoy doing. So I always focus on that. I'm like, here's a time in the day where I can it's my own realm and I'm going to have fun. And if I don't like something I did, you know what? I'm just going to delete it and it's gone. And how many times in life do you get to do that, right? You don't get to do that in the office. You don't walk in, slap someone around the face, drop your trousers and go, you know what? I've done this terribly. Can I start again? It doesn't work that way. But in a podcast, like I do get that. So that motivates me to keep it going. And then there's also like obviously there's people who are supporting me, but there's also like a challenge to myself of like, I feel like in my life, I'm getting deep. No.
Okay.
But like this, I don't know if you're the same as me, but I've started so many more projects than I've finished. Like I've got 3 books that I have got 3/4 of the way through writing, and they're just sitting there, just big stacks of paper, and I've just moved on, and they're there, and I really want to finish them, but like I'm bad at finishing projects, and like it's almost a challenge to myself of like, don't give up on this thing, keep this one regular, keep turning up, keep doing it, and that is actually a really good motivator for me. And I haven't missed a week, regardless of where I've been, what I've been doing. I've never missed a show. If I post a day late, I will post like I had food poisoning, so I posted just a mini episode being like, I've got food poisoning, I'm dying, but the episode is coming. I would never. So, and it's kind of, yeah, it's like like a personal challenge in a way.
You know what advice I can give you, piggyback on what you're saying? Like, I've also been there myself where I was like, I want to do so many things. And then it's like, got to the point where I literally had to stop and evaluate and start saying no, 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 no. Or if I felt like very extremely strong about it, I really absolutely have to do this. I will. Well, I guess you could do it now because Google has this new feature, Gmail has a new feature where you can schedule your email. So you literally write yourself an email, let's say 2 months from now, and then time that you had this feeling, you send the email to yourself. I have this amazing feeling working on this amazing project, and the benefit is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And on this particular date, I'm going to see if I still feel this way. And you schedule it, and then let's say January 1st come February 1st, if you still feel the same way, then you do it. Otherwise, it's just a hype or good feeling motivational thing, and then it's gonna go away.
That's a really good idea. Yeah, I'm gonna try that out. Send myself an email.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then also, if you want in the mention, like, oh, I want to do it right now, but if I feel the same way X amount of time, then I'm just going to delete it and forget the idea. What that also will do is it will validate if you really truly care about it, or is it because you watch something or listen to something, you got so pumped, it's like, oh, I want to do this kind of thing. And then, in the moment, kind of motivation, I what I call it. And then if you felt so strong about it, and then you have a why you want to do it, a month later, the why still is valid, and you still have the same feeling, then you should absolutely find time to do it.
Right. That's the litmus test. It's like, if you're still passionate, then there's something there. If you've forgotten about it, you know what? It's forgotten about you.
Exactly. Like, more than likely, if you do that, what I call a 7-day test, let's say Monday morning, you got up, you watched some video or listen to something, you're like, oh my God, it's so cool, I have to do it. Give it until next Sunday. Send the email or reminder or something, whatever. And you still feel the same passion for it, then do it. Otherwise, next. Simple as that.
It's good advice. Good advice. Taking notes.
I should be taking notes from you. All right, man. So speaking of taking notes, so let's wrap this up. So what I always like to do with my people I'm interviewing, my friends, who I call them, because truly I feel like I'm your best friend and you are my best friend, and we share a ton of value in here. It's like, let's do a 2-part question. Wherever you are right now in your life, with all the experiences, all the pain, all the suffering, all the success that you have accumulated up until now, if 21-year-old version of yourself asks you for advice to get to where you are now a lot faster, what advice would you give him?
Don't dye your hair blonde. It was a big mistake. It looked terrible. No. Yeah, no, honestly, what advice would I give? I've got to try and avoid the cliches here because I'll never forgive
It's
myself.
your advice, yourself. You could say whatever you want.
The inner critic. I think what I'd say is, number one, finish some of those projects because they'll hang around you and you'll still be talking about them 10 years later.
Okay.
Still sitting under my bed. But number two, I think, without wanting to sound too cheesy, is like, don't shy away from the things people like about you. Like I'd always like I'm a bit of a like rebellious person, right, at
Okay.
heart. So if people like things about me, I'd almost like challenge them to like be like, yeah, but I don't even care about that. Like, why? I don't know. Who knows? Like, ask my, therapist or whatever. That's the joke.
Okay.
But like, it's like you don't need to be so defensive about those things. Like
Okay.
everyone has strengths and weaknesses, and you kind of know what your strengths are, but you're just in denial about what they are for quite a while, I feel. And it's
Gotcha.
like, maybe just take a second to sit down and realize that when people say they like that about you, it's not a reason to throw it back in their face. It's a reason to actually be like, oh, okay, this is something that actually is normal and good and not mad.
Okay. All right.
So
Whatever it is, that's your
I
thing,
sound insane.
Hey, everybody is unique in their own way. It's just that you are that way. Other people, you'd be surprised how many other people are like that. You just don't know them.
Really?
I'm a firm believer. If you feel a certain way, there are at least 10 people out there feel the same about that. That's how the universe work. And my
Yeah.
own personal feeling is like, in this life, your life, my life, there's nothing we are gonna do that hasn't already been done, or is going to be done after we leave.
We're not so different, are we? We're all just humans. We've all just got patterns. We're brought up in different environments, different cultures, but ultimately we're the
It's
same
the same thing.
underneath it all.
The only difference is we get to experience it, and then when we experience it, we feel like it's the first time this has ever been happened. Like, for example, you went to a high school. Oh my God, first time I went to high school. Nobody else is going to go to high school. There's plenty of people who already went to high school.
Oh my God, yeah. Oh my God. I tell you what, so the advice that I'd give my 21-year-old self is very different to the advice I'd give my 15-year-old self, talking about high school. It's like,
Okay.
chill out, stop taking everything so serious. But, you kind of have to at that age, don't you?
That's what I'm saying. Is that it's just the experiences that you have, or whatever age you're in, is happening to you. So therefore, you're like, oh my God, nobody else has experienced that. For example, anxiety, the anger, the crying, the tears, the happiness. Everybody experiences just that.
Yeah.
You feel like I'm the only one. But soon as I learned that everybody experiences, like all my stress went away. I'm like, I'm not the only one feeling this way. I'm sure 100 billion people are doing the same thing. So I was like, okay, I'm just one of them. So stress just goes away.
Nice. That's a good message.
All right. So second part of that question is, what is it that you are extremely passionate about working on nowadays?
Other than the podcast, obviously, not the podcast, Rob.
It could be anything, whatever.
I think, obviously, there's some obvious things like my show that was One Jewish Boy that was in the West End. We want to get that back on stage. We were going to tour the UK. We were going to take it to America. We were going to tour the US. I'm very passionate about that project. It's really brilliant. My co-star in it is fantastic. The director, the writer, the staff around it. It's just a brilliant show. I'm very passionate about it. And we only got to do a week of what should have been months and months and months. So it's still there, I think. But who knows when the theatre's going to be back. So I can't pour all my energy into that for now.
Right.
So what I've been doing instead is preparing. So I've been shooting a couple of short things here and there. A lot of production still is not back, but a few things are back. And me and a friend have been working on this short script. This will be our third script that we've done together. And this is the first one that I think is really, really funny. And we've done some stuff before that's a bit more serious, a bit less funny, but with comedy stuff. But this one is like really funny. And we had a location ready, and then WeWork, I'm sure you know about this, that whole thing just imploded. That's a crazy story. That's a good podcast, actually. What's it called? We Crashed. which is like a whole investigation into how WeWork was like floated. I think it was like 4.6 billion IPO. And then within sort of a week, it was like their stock had tumbled to like nothing. And why was that? And what was their business model? We were going to shoot in one of their offices, and now they don't basically exist anymore. But we're gonna get that going, and it's going to be called Tell the Lie, and it's going to be very funny. And I'll let you know when we release it. I'm very passionate about it.
Cool. Awesome, man. All right. First of all, thank you so much, Rob, for being
It's
here.
been my absolute
Man, truly it's been a pleasure, and I really, really, really enjoyed the conversation. And then last part of the show, what I do is give you the floor to share anything you want to share, and then tell people how they can get in touch with you.
Sure. Cool. Well, cue me going on a 20-minute rant about why the moon isn't real. No, if anyone wants to get in touch with me, you can find me on all of the social media stuff. My podcast is called The Bliss of the Abyss. I talk about everything. It's about trying to find some joy, some happiness in amongst this crazy world that we live in. It's getting crazier by the second. Who knows? There's no end in sight, and there never will be an end in sight. But you know what? Together, we can have a brighter, better future. And it's that kind of stuff.
Okay, cool. So guys, definitely go check it out, and I will also put this in the show notes, and we have a direct link to go check that out. And here at Simple Podcast Cloud, we'd like to thank you for being here, taking the time to being with us, and thank you so much. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah,
And
Mark, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. You've been an impeccable host. It's been a brilliant show. Cheers.
Awesome.